Exodus 32, 1 through 10 and 1 Kings 12, 25 through 33. Proof that Dan inspired the golden calf? ? All glory to my Lord and Saviour, Jesus Christ. Thank you for paying a debt that I simply could not pay. I love you, Lord, and I thank you for your blessings. Hebrews 12:2, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Thank you for going to the cross for me, Lord, and thank you for paying for my sins. Challenge the content of this video, tear it apart. If what is in here isn't biblically sound, correct me. I have no desire to be a false teacher. So what we will look at, Exodus 32, 1 through 10, 1 Kings 12, 25 through 33, a comparison of Exodus 32, 1 through 10 and 1 Kings 12, 25 through 33, Exodus 32, 4, Strong's 2747, correct, Strong's 2747, correct, linked words. Let us revisit Exodus 35, 34. 2 Chronicles 2, more craftsmen are identified during the building of Solomon's temple. Judges 18, 27 through 31, and Dan corrupt Aaron and Moses' family. So the first thing we look at is Exodus 32, 1 through 10, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with. Now when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mountain, the people assembled about Aaron and said to him, "Come, make us a god who will go before us. As for this Moses, the man who brought us up from the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him." Aaron said to them, "Tear off the gold rings which are in the ears of your wives, your sons and your daughters, and bring them to me." Then all the people tore off the gold rings which were in the ears and brought them to Aaron. He took this from their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool and made it into a golden calf. And they said, "This is your God, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt." Now when Aaron saw this, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made a proclamation and said, "Tomorrow shall be a feast to the Lord." So the next day they rose early and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "Go down at once, for your people whom you have brought up from the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have quickly turned aside from the way which I commanded them. They have made for themselves a molten calf and have worshipped it and have sacrificed to it and said, 'This is your God, O Israel, who brought you up from the land of Egypt.' The Lord said to Moses, 'I have seen this people, and behold, they are an obstinate people. Now let me alone, that my anger may burn against them, that I may destroy them, and I will make of you a great nation.'" So, 1 Kings 12, 25 through 33. Then Jeroboam built Shechem in the hill country of Ephraim and lived there. And he went out from there and built Penuel. Jeroboam said in his heart, "Now the kingdom will return to the house of David. If this people go up to offer sacrifices in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, then the heart of this people will return to their Lord, even Rehoboam, king of Judah, and they will kill me and return to Rehoboam, king of Judah." So the king consulted and made 2 golden calves and said to them, "Is it too much for you to go up to Jerusalem? Behold, your gods, O Israel, that brought you up from the land of Egypt." He set one in Bethel, and the other one he put in Dan. Now these things became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one as far as Dan. And he made houses on high places, and made priests from among all of the people who were not the sons of Levi. Jeroboam instituted a feast in the 8th month, on the 15th day of the month, like the feast which is in Judah. He went up to the altar, thus he did at Bethel, sacrificing to the calves which he had made, and he stationed in Bethel the priests of the high places which he had made. Then he went up to the altar which he had made in Bethel on the 15th day in the 8th month, even in the month which he had devised in his own heart, and he instituted a feast for the sons of Israel, and went up to the altar to burn incense. So a comparison of Exodus 32, 1 through 10, and 1 Kings 12, 25 through 33. Do a deep dive on this one, but we're just going to look at 2 things in particular where there's massive overlap. So Exodus 32, 4 and 1 Kings 12, 28. Exodus 32:4, he took this from their land and fashioned it with a graving tool and made it into a molten calf. And they said, "This is your God, O Israel, who brought you up from the land of Egypt." And in 1 Kings 12:28, so the king consulted and made 2 golden calves. And he said to them, "Is it too much for you to go up out of Jerusalem? Behold your gods, O Israel, that brought you up from the land of Egypt." And then if you look at Exodus 32:5 and 6 and 1 Kings 12:32 and 33. Now when Aaron saw this, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made a proclamation and said, "Tomorrow shall be a feast to the Lord." So the next day they rose early and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And then Jeroboam instituted a feast in the 8th month on the 15th day of the month, like the feast which is in Judah. He went up to the altar, thus he did in Bethel, sacrificing to the calves which he had made, and he stationed in Bethel the priests of high places which he had made. Then he went up to the altar which he had made in Bethel on the 15th day. So we see there, Aaron the Levite in Kings, there's people who aren't Levites. We've got an altar there, we've got a feast there, and we've got sacrifices and offerings. So again, massive overlap between those 2 things, but dig into that deeper for yourself if you so wish. So Exodus 32:4, Strong's 2747, Keret, and here's Exodus 32:4. He took this from their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool and made it into a molten calf. And they said, "This is your God, O Israel, who brought you up from the land of Egypt." And there is the word there in the interlinear. We see it is Strong's 2747 Keret, which is an engraving tool. And there we are, graving tool, pen. It's used in Isaiah 8:1 as a pen. So it was a tool for writing as well. You might want to see my video that I posted last week, where I think done are the scribes as well as the builders. But we're looking at Keret today. There's the lexicons. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of them. And they're all engraving tool, stylus, engraving implement there. They're all agreed. So linked words to Keret. We have got Karash, Strong's 2796, which is a craftsman, artisan engraver, someone who will use the Keret. And then we've got Strong's 6603, Pituak, engraved work, engraving, carved work, embossed design product. This is what the Keret would leave on whatever product it's been on, be it gold, wood, stone, paper, etc. So here is Karash. And we see it Strong's 2796, 35 occurrences in the Bible. We're just going to look at 2 here. We can link a couple to 2 Dan, but we're looking at Exodus 35 and 38. He has also put in his heart to teach both he and Oholiab, the son of Ahisamach of the tribe of Dan. He has filled them with skill to perform every work of an engraver and of a designer, of an embroiderer, in blue and in purple and in scarlet material and in fine linen, and of a weaver, as performers of every work and makers of designs. And then Exodus 38:23, with him was Oholiab, the son of Ahisamach of the tribe of Dan, an engraver and a skillful workman and a weaver in blue and in purple and scarlet material and in fine linen. And then we look at Pituak, Strong's 6603. This is only mentioned 10 times in the scriptures, and we can link 7 of those to named Danites. We're just going to look at 2 here. Now send me a skilled man to work in gold, silver and brass and iron and in purple and crimson and violet fabrics, and who knows how to make engravings. To work with the skilled men who I have in Judah and Jerusalem, whom David my father provided. And then 2 Chronicles 2:13. Now I'm spending Hiram Biff, a skilled man endowed with understanding, the son of a Danite woman and a Tyrian father, who knows how to work in gold, silver, bronze, iron, stone and wood, in purple, violet, linen and crimson fabrics, and who knows how to make all kinds of engravings and to execute any design which may be assigned to him to work with your skilled men and with those of my Lord David, your father. So let us revisit Exodus 35-34. Some of you might have picked up on where I'm taking this. If we look at the timeline for these, the preparations for the tabernacle, and the journey resumes, well, you can see the whole of the book here almost takes place in a very short period of time, 1 or 2 years. So this is the key line, Exodus 35-34, and he has put it in his heart to teach both he and Oholiab, the son of Ahisamach of the tribe of Dan. So I think Oholiab here has taught Aaron how to make the golden calf, and influenced him, either himself or the Danites as a wider group. And we've got Exodus 35-34. The word there is Strong's 3384, Yara or Yara, and you can see there's a range of uses for this, which I think are going to be future Bible studies. Archer, cast, direct, inform, instruct, lay, show, shoot, teach. So very interesting broad word there. And if we go to Exodus 28, we're talking about the making of the garments here. This is the start of the making of the tabernacle and the implements and the clothing for the priests. Then bring near to yourself Aaron, your brother. So obviously this is God the Father talking to Moses, and he and his sons with him from among the sons of Israel, to minister as a priest to me. Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar, Aaron's sons. You shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother, for your glory and for beauty. You shall speak to all the skillful persons who I've endowed with the spirit of wisdom. Yes, I've bolded this for a reason, that they may make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister as a priest to me. These are the garments which they shall make: a breastpiece, and an ephod, and a robe, and a tunic of checkered work, a turban, and a sash. And they shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother and his sons. They may minister as a priest to me. They shall take the gold and the blue and the purple and the scarlet material and the fine linen. They shall also make the ephod of gold and blue and purple and scarlet material and fine twisted linen, the work of the skillful craftsman. It shall have 2 shoulder pieces joined to its 2 ends, that it may be joined. The skillfully woven band which is on it shall be like its workmanship, of the same material of gold and blue and purple and scarlet material and fine twisted linen. And you shall take 2 onyx stones and engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel, 6 of their names on the one stone, and the names of the remaining 6 on the other stone, according to their birth. As a jeweler engraves a signet, you shall engrave the 2 stones according to the names of the sons of Israel. You shall set them in filigree settings of gold. So how can we be sure that Oholiab there in Exodus 35 is the same craftsman as Exodus 28? We just look at key words here that describe Oholiab. He has filled them with the skill to perform every work of an engraver in blue and purple and scarlet material and in fine linen. So Oholiab is linked to skill, engraver, blue, purple, scarlet material and fine linen. And we go back to Exodus 28, the skillful persons who I've endowed with the spirit of wisdom. Okay, there's skill check. And we've got verses 6 and 8 here. They shall make an ephod of gold and blue and purple and scarlet material and fine twisted linen, the work of skillful workmen. And then verse 8, the skillfully woven band. And then we've got engraving here, 28:11. As a jeweler engraves a signet, you shall engrave the 2 stones. And then the materials there were blue, purple and scarlet material and fine linen. And then we've got more blue, purple and scarlet material and twisted fine linen, blue, purple and scarlet material and twisted fine linen. So if we go back to Exodus 35, filled, skillful, engraver, blue, purple, scarlet material. So Oholiab is the builder from Exodus 28, which means that he is the one that influenced Aaron, I think, in Exodus 32. So we've got more craftsmen identified in the building of the temple in 2 Chronicles 2. Now Solomon decided to build a house for the name of the Lord and a royal palace for himself. So Solomon assigned 70,000 men to carry loads and 80,000 men to quarry stone in the mountains and 3,600 to supervise them. Then Solomon sent word to Hiram, the king of Tyre, saying, as you dealt to my father and sent him cedars to build him a house to dwell in, so do so for me. Behold, I am about to build a house for the name of the Lord my God, dedicating it to him, to burn fragrant incense before him, and to set out the showbread continually, and to offer burnt offerings in the morning and evening, on the Sabbath and on the new moons and the appointed feasts of the Lord our God, this being required forever in Israel. The house which I am about to build will be great, for greater is our God than all the other gods. I won't read that, pause it and read it if you wish, but we just get to verses 13 and 14 here. But then Hiram the king of Tyre answered in the letter sent to Solomon, because the Lord loves his people, he has made a king over them. Then Hiram continued, blessed be the Lord God, the God of Israel, who has made heaven and earth, who has given King David a wise son, endowed him with discretion and understanding, who will build a house for the Lord and a royal palace for himself. Now I am sending Hiram a Biff, a skilled man, endowed with understanding, the son of a Danite woman and Tyrian father, who knows how to work in gold, silver, bronze, iron, stone and wood, and in purple, violet, linen, crimson fabrics, and he knows how to make all kinds of engravings and to execute any design which may be assigned to him, to work with your skilled men and with those of my lord David, your father. You see massive overlaps there with what we've looked at in terms of the craftsmen. If you want to study Judges 18 as an entire passage, you'll see the build-up to the corruption of the priest and the taking of the idols, and obviously they take the town called Laish. But we'll just look at this. So the sons of Dan went on their way, and when Micah saw that they were too strong for him, he turned and went back to his house. Then they took what Micah had made and the priests who had belonged to him, and came to Laish, to a people quiet and secure, and struck them with the edge of the sword, and they burnt the city with fire, and there was no one to deliver them, because it was far from Sidon, and they had no dealings with anyone. And it was in the valley which is near Beth Rehob, and they rebuilt the city and lived in it. They called the name of the city Dan, after the name of Dan, their father, who was born in Israel. However, the name of the city was formerly Laish. The sons of Dan set up for themselves a graven image, and Jonathan, the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, he and his sons were priests to the tribe of the Danites until the day of the captivity of the land. So they set up for themselves Micah's graven image, which he had made all the time the house of God was at Shiloh. So we don't know what the graven image exactly is. This is the first recording idolatry being brought into Israel, but that graven image will function exactly in the same way as the calves of Exodus 32 and 1 Kings 12. So Dan corrupt Aaron and Moses' family in Exodus 32 here. Now when the people saw that Moses delayed and came down from the mountain, the people assembled about Aaron and said to him, come, make us a god who will go before us. Well, we see a parallel here in Judges 18. So the sons of Dan went their way, which Micah saw they were too strong. So they've hounded Micah here and taken his idols and graven images from him, his household idols. So definitely a parallel there. And we can see here as well we've got a priest here. Obviously we've got Aaron, and then we've got Jonathan, the priest here. So this is commentary from Judges 18:13 by Charlie Garrett, the Superior Word down in Sarasota, Florida. And Jonathan, the son of Gershom, son of Manasseh, and his sons were priests to the tribe of Dan. So the text has without a doubt been manipulated. And Jonathan, son of Gershom, son of Manasseh, and he and his sons were priests to the tribe of the Danite. The Levite's name is Jonathan. Yah has given of Jehovah, or something similar. He is a Levite. Levites do not descend from Manasseh. Rather, Moses was of the tribe of Levi. His son Gershom would have been one of the Levites enumerated during the census. Thus, Jonathan and his sons descended from Gershom, who was born to Moses. The names are identical, but with the addition of the noon. So they've put a noon on Moses there to hide that, hide it as Manasseh rather than Moses. So Jonathan and his brothers. Well, Jonathan is Moses' grandson. So there we are. So we've got Dan here. I think if this is true, corrupting Aaron here, and then grandsons or the family of Moses here. Dig into it for yourself. Thank you for listening, and God bless.